Throughout human history, there have been ancient texts that not only describe life, but reveal technologies far ahead of their time. But do we truly understand them? These texts are not just mysterious stories. They may hide secrets about science and technologies we've never imagined. Join us as we explore 10 ancient texts that unveil technologies we never thought possible. Could these texts change the way we view human history? Top 1. The Voynich manuscript. In 1912, an antiquarian named Wilfred Voynich stumbled upon a bundle of ancient manuscripts that would forever change the world's perception of historical texts. Among these manuscripts was one that defied explanation, a book written in an unknown script, filled with bizarre botanical illustrations and anatomical diagrams. This was the Voynich manuscript, a text that has baffled scholars, cryptographers, and even artificial intelligence for over a century. Carbon dated to the early 15th century, the manuscript is over 200 pages long and features illustrations of plants that don't exist in nature, star charts that remain inexplicable, and human figures immersed in strange biological systems. One diagram even resembles the human lymphatic system, long before modern science mapped it. Another shows a sequence of embryonic development stages, which were documented centuries ahead of their time. These depictions left scholars and cryptographers stumped, and despite the best efforts of some of the world's greatest minds, the manuscript's text remains indeciphered. The language used in the manuscript is as complex as natural languages, with recurring syntax, structure, and entropy. Yet it is unlike any known language in the world. Decades of attempts to crack the code have failed, with even the most advanced artificial intelligence algorithms making little headway. The patterns identified within the manuscript suggest it's not gibberish, but something else entirely. What makes the Voynich manuscript even more mysterious is the secrecy surrounding it. Despite the global interest in its contents, high-resolution scans have been kept hidden, and some researchers who've published preliminary theories connecting the manuscript to non-terrestrial linguistics have had their access revoked. There are even whispers that the manuscript's true origins could be extraterrestrial. But if the Voynich manuscript does indeed describe advanced biological processes, such as reproductive cycles and organ systems, it raises unsettling questions. Did an ancient civilization possess knowledge far beyond its time? Or was this knowledge handed down from an unknown source? If this manuscript truly contains knowledge that should not exist in the 15th century, the implications could shake the foundations of human intellectual history. Could it be that this manuscript is more than just an enigma? Could it be a piece of a much larger, hidden truth? Or are we dealing with a language and knowledge so far beyond our grasp that it may remain locked away forever? Top 2. The Vedas atomic hymn. Over 3,000 years ago, in the ancient lands of the Indian subcontinent, a group of sages known as the Rishis composed the Vedas, sacred hymns passed down orally before being recorded in written form. The Rig Veda, the oldest of these texts, contains praises of the elements, cosmic battles, and the laws of nature. But nestled within these hymns is something even more extraordinary. Descriptions of matter that astonishingly resemble modern atomic theory, written long before such concepts were even conceived by the scientific community. In the Upanishads, a collection of philosophical appendices to the Vedas, the concept of Anu and Paramanu is introduced. These terms refer to the smallest indivisible particles of matter, concepts strikingly similar to what we now understand as atoms and subatomic particles. The texts claim that everything in the universe is composed of these fundamental units, too small to be perceived by the naked eye, yet powerful in their interactions. These ideas align closely with the principles of atomic theory, which would not be formalized until centuries later. The Vedas go even further, describing the vibrational nature of reality. They speak of an intricate web of energy and forces that bind these particles together, foreshadowing quantum field theories that would emerge only in the 20th century. One particular hymn details how matter itself is composed of 5 subtle elements: ether, air, fire, water, and earth. These are not just classical elements, but gradations of energy density, echoing modern concepts of energy fields and states of matter. At first, 19th century Western scholars dismissed these passages as mere poetic metaphors, but as the scientific understanding of atoms, subatomic particles, and quantum mechanics evolved, some physicists began to reassess the Vedic texts. Niels Bohr, the renowned Danish physicist, reportedly admired the depth of Indian metaphysics. Despite growing academic interest, institutional acceptance of these ideas remained elusive, and some scholars advocating for this interpretation found themselves marginalized or dismissed. If the atomic theories in the Vedas are not a coincidence, it suggests that human understanding of matter did not begin with modern Europe, but in ancient temples under the starry skies of the Indian subcontinent. If the rishis truly had access to this knowledge, were they operating from a higher state of consciousness, one that allowed them to perceive truths about the universe without the need for the instruments of science? This raises an unsettling possibility. What if science, true science, did not begin with microscopes and formulas, but with silence, breath, and stillness? Top 3. The Dendera light. In the heart of Upper Egypt, within the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, there exists a series of carved reliefs that have sparked intense debate for over a century. These carvings, first photographed in the 19th century, depict what appear to be elongated glass bulbs, each containing a serpent-like filament stretching from one end to the other. Beneath these bulbs, figures stand holding them up using pillar-like stands, and the resemblance to modern electric light bulbs is uncanny. The so-called Dendera light has become one of the most controversial and fascinating anomalies in Egyptology. While mainstream scholars have long insisted that these carvings are symbolic, representing lotus flowers or metaphors for spiritual energy, alternative researchers have proposed an entirely different theory. Some electrical engineers and independent researchers argue that these reliefs depict actual electrical devices, early vacuum tube-style lamps powered by a primitive energy source. The supporting pillars in the carvings resemble insulators, and the figures holding the bulbs appear to be manipulating cables or coils, further strengthening the argument that these might be depictions of an electrical lighting system. This theory gains traction when viewed alongside the so-called Baghdad battery, a clay pot with a copper cylinder and iron rod that, when filled with an acidic liquid, can generate a small electrical charge. If such rudimentary batteries existed in Mesopotamia, could the Egyptians have used similar technology to power light bulbs within the deep, dark chambers of their temples? The temples of Egypt, including those at Dendera and Abydos, were often too deep and complex to have been illuminated by torches alone. The walls of these chambers show no signs of soot, wax, or oil smoke, which would typically result from flame-based light sources. The absence of such traces is puzzling, especially given the sheer size and design of these temples. Engineers who have attempted to recreate lighting systems in these temples using mirrors or torches have found the methods impractical. The light is too dim, and the air becomes smoky. Yet if the Dendera light is indeed an electrical device, it would force a dramatic reassessment of Egypt's technological capabilities. It would suggest that the Egyptians understood and may have even harnessed energy in ways that were far ahead of their time. However, as attention surrounding the Dendera light grew, so did the barriers to studying it. Access to the temple's reliefs was restricted, and certain photographs mysteriously disappeared from museum archives. A German documentary that had filmed the interior of the temple in great detail was abruptly pulled from television. Researchers who speculated about lost Egyptian technology saw their funding dry up, and the official stance hardened. The reliefs were dismissed as mythological and symbolic, with no real technological significance. Yet rumors persist of a sealed chamber beneath the temple, one that remains off-limits to archaeologists even today. If the Dendera light is indeed a real electrical device, it would not only force a reassessment of ancient Egypt's technological understanding, but also raise even deeper questions. Why did they need to illuminate the walls of their temples with such light? What secrets were they trying to reveal, or perhaps to keep hidden? Top 4. The Han Dynasty Propulsion Scroll. In 32 CE, during the reign of Emperor Guangwu of the Eastern Han Dynasty, a scroll known as the Jiji Galun, or Treatise on Engine Principles, was reportedly presented to the imperial court. This text, attributed to a mysterious inventor named Kong Shen, described a flying chariot that was powered not by animals or magic, but by wind captured and redirected through curved metal ducts. Though initially dismissed as a fantasy or allegory, the scroll disappeared into the imperial archives and remained unknown for centuries. However, its reemergence in the 1970s would challenge our understanding of ancient technologies. A cache of forgotten manuscripts was unearthed in the Dunhuang Library caves, which had been sealed for centuries. Among the medical texts and Buddhist sutras, there was a fragmented version of Kong Shen's treatise. Despite being damaged, the manuscript contained legible passages describing the movement of wind captured and directed through cylindrical devices fitted with rotating blades. The accompanying ink sketches bore an unsettling resemblance to jet propulsion mechanisms, concepts that would not be recognized in modern engineering until the 20th century. Modern aerospace engineers who reviewed the imagery found startling similarities to early thrust vectoring concepts. The scroll featured diagrams of what appeared to be axial flow channels, intake vents, exhaust designs, and even a capsule-like vessel with stabilizing fins. These designs bore a remarkable resemblance to the principles behind jet engines and early aircraft propulsion systems. Could ancient China have developed such advanced concepts long before the Industrial Age? Initial excitement from Chinese academic institutions quickly turned to silence. The treatise was reclassified under strict heritage protection laws, and discussions of its implications were quashed. The scroll was quietly removed from museum articles, and references to its technological potential were wiped from scientific journals. Researchers who dared to publicly speculate about its significance found their work suppressed, and soon access to the original scroll was sealed off, further deepening the mystery. If the Jiji Galun is authentic, it suggests that ancient China may have experimented with propulsion mechanisms long before the Industrial Revolution. But how did Kong Shen come to such knowledge? Was he merely a brilliant mind ahead of his time? Or did he have access to knowledge that was not his own? The text contains a haunting line. The bird does not ask the sky how to fly. It knows for something once whispered it long ago. What if Kong Shen had uncovered a forgotten technology from a distant, advanced civilization? Or perhaps from an even stranger source? Top 5. The Greek Lens Manuscript. In 1896, while cataloging artifacts from the ruins of an ancient library beneath the island of Delos, archaeologists discovered a fragmentary scroll written in Doric Greek. The document, later known as the Opticon Treatise, was initially believed to be a philosophical reflection on sight and perception. However, closer analysis revealed something far more remarkable. The text described with precision the manipulation of light through curved crystal surfaces to magnify distant objects, a concept that would not be fully realized until the invention of telescopes over 2,000 years later. The Opticon Treatise outlined the basic principles of refraction, focal length, and the use of lenses for long-range viewing. The document included detailed calculations for polishing angles, compound curvature, and even diagrams of tubes fitted with double lenses. One sketch depicted a multi-lens system mounted on a tripod-like stand, aimed toward the stars, essentially a primitive telescope, centuries before it was believed that such technology existed. When the manuscript was first presented to the Hellenic Academy in Athens in 1901, it was hailed as a marvel. It was compared to the Antikythera mechanism, another Greek anomaly that displayed astronomical functions far beyond its time. But unlike the Antikythera mechanism, the Opticon Treatise did not survive long in public view. Within months, the scroll was recalled for reauthentication, and discussions about its implications were abruptly silenced. The manuscript was never returned to the Delos archives, and the official narrative shifted. The Opticon Treatise was dismissed, its significance buried beneath official silence. Unsettlingly, when the Opticon Treatise resurfaced in the 20th century, it was found to be accompanied by shards of clear quartz, crystal fragments shaped with surprising precision. These shards matched the curvature proposed in the manuscript's diagrams and showed signs of controlled heat treatment, suggesting that the ancient Greeks may have had the ability to manufacture telescopic lenses, a skill that would have been revolutionary for their time. If the Greeks possessed not only the theory of optics, but also the ability to craft lenses capable of magnifying distant objects, it would rewrite our understanding of ancient technological achievements. Could philosophers like Pythagoras, Euclid, or even earlier thinkers have observed distant celestial bodies, such as Jupiter's moons, long before Galileo looked to the stars? The implications of this discovery are staggering, suggesting that ancient Greek knowledge of optics could have far surpassed what was previously thought possible. What might the ancient Greeks have seen through their lenses? And why has the knowledge contained in the Opticon treatise been so carefully hidden? These are questions that remain unanswered, questions that challenge the linear narrative of human technological development. Top 6. The Sumerian Sky Charts. In 1880, excavations in the ancient Sumerian city of Sippar uncovered a peculiar tablet among the ruins. This tablet, later catalogued as K8A538, featured a circular diagram filled with celestial symbols and mathematical notations. When translated, it was revealed to be a star chart, mapping the night sky from the perspective of Earth. But what startled researchers was not the chart's content, but its uncanny accuracy. It didn't align with the sky of the ancient world. It matched the stars as we see them today. This Sumerian sky chart accurately depicted planetary alignments and even included references to Pluto, a celestial body that wouldn't be discovered by modern astronomers until 1930. The chart also featured retrograde motions, an astronomical phenomenon that only becomes evident when observing planets through a telescope. But the Sumerians had no telescopes, no magnifying instruments of any kind. So how did they possess such intricate knowledge of the cosmos? The tablet's accuracy raises unsettling questions. Did the Sumerians possess an advanced understanding of the heavens? Or did they have access to technology or knowledge that modern archaeology has yet to uncover? Some researchers have suggested that the Sumerians were able to track and map planetary cycles with remarkable precision through pure observation. Others have posited that they had access to a form of knowledge passed down from an earlier civilization, or even from non-human sources. The authenticity of the sky chart is beyond dispute, but the implications of its contents have been deeply unsettling. If the Sumerians had access to this astronomical knowledge, it suggests that ancient humans may have had a far deeper understanding of the universe than we ever imagined. The chart may even point to the possibility that the Sumerians weren't simply observing the stars. They may have been following a system of knowledge passed down from a lost, advanced civilization. The most chilling aspect of this mystery is the ongoing suppression of access to the tablet. After it was unearthed, the tablet was removed from the British Museum's Mesopotamian collection and transferred to an off-site archive under the guise of preservation concerns. High-resolution images of the tablet disappeared, and satellite surveys of the Sippar site were later halted under military orders. Whistleblowers reported seeing sealed crates transported under heavy guard, and researchers have found their attempts to study the tablet blocked at every turn. If the Sumerian sky chart is truly what it appears to be, it represents a staggering anomaly in our understanding of ancient human knowledge. It forces us to reconsider the idea that the Sumerians, and possibly other ancient civilizations, may have known far more about the cosmos than we give them credit for. And if that knowledge wasn't acquired through observation alone, the question remains, where did it come from? Top 7. The Book of Enoch's Star Maps. In 1773, Scottish explorer James Bruce returned from Ethiopia with 3 ancient manuscripts, one of which contained the Book of Enoch. This text, long thought to be lost to history, contained profound astronomical records that astonished European scholars of the time. The Book of Enoch is filled with visions, allegories, and descriptions of the sun, moon, and stars that go beyond mere mythology. Among these descriptions are precise star maps, detailing the movement of celestial bodies in a way that was centuries ahead of its time. One of the most striking sections of the Book of Enoch is the description of the heavenly luminaries, which outlines the movement of the sun and stars with uncanny precision. It speaks of windows in the heavens through which the sun passes during solstices and equinoxes, and of stars that move in fixed cycles, each governed by an angelic entity. These are not poetic abstractions. They are detailed descriptions of celestial mechanics, and they match the positions of the stars in the sky with startling accuracy. Some calculations even match the solar year to within a fraction of a day, centuries before the Julian calendar was developed. What's even more perplexing are the passages that describe wandering stars falling from the sky and bound beneath mountains. Today, these are often interpreted as descriptions of meteor impacts or possibly even advanced technological craft that failed to reach their intended destinations. In one passage, Enoch speaks of a being who measured the vault of the heavens and taught humans the signs of the earth and the secrets of the sun, a figure that some have linked to early geodesy and solar mechanics. Most shocking of all is the text's descriptions of different layers of reality, each with its own laws of time, space, and energy. In the fifth heaven, time passes differently, and in the seventh heaven, Enoch encounters a blinding light he cannot describe. Concepts that eerily align with today's theories of wormholes and higher dimensional physics. These descriptions suggest a multidimensional cosmology that is strikingly similar to modern theories about the fabric of the universe. However, despite its early popularity among Christian thinkers, the Book of Enoch was excluded from both the Jewish and Christian canons. The reasons for this exclusion were largely theological, but privately, some scholars cited their discomfort with its descriptions of beings from the sky and its forbidden knowledge. As the centuries passed, the book's teachings were suppressed, its translations delayed, and critical editions of the text were hidden away. In the 20th century, attempts to digitally preserve the Book of Enoch were quietly defunded, and the text itself remained on the fringes of both mainstream theology and science. Could it be that the Book of Enoch is more than just a religious text? What if it contains the keys to understanding a much older, more advanced knowledge of the universe? The references to celestial mechanics, multidimensional spaces, and higher forms of consciousness suggest that Enoch's visions weren't merely mythological. They could have been real glimpses into a hidden truth about the cosmos. Perhaps the true mystery lies not in what Enoch saw, but in who or what guided him to this knowledge, and why it has been hidden from the rest of humanity. Top 8. The Tulli Papyrus. In the 1930s, while studying Egyptian antiquities at the Vatican Museum, Alberto Tulli, the museum's director of the Egyptian section, discovered a curious papyrus in a Cairo antiquities shop. Though lacking the funds to purchase it, Tulli copied the text by hand, preserving it for future generations. This transcription, now known as the Tulli Papyrus, would later surface in academic circles and spark one of the most enduring and controversial debates in Egyptology. The document describes an event from the reign of Pharaoh Thutmose III, around 1480 BCE, when a series of fiery disks appeared in the sky over Egypt. The papyrus recounts how these mysterious objects moved silently and swiftly across the heavens, shining brighter than the sun. The text states that the objects remained visible for several days, then ascended and moved toward the south. The language of the papyrus is remarkably clear and administrative. There is no mention of divine omens or symbolic visions. It is a factual report of an event that defied every known natural explanation. This first-person account has the hallmarks of a contemporary observation, not a myth. And yet many Egyptologists dismiss the Tulli Papyrus as a hoax or misinterpretation. The original papyrus was never found, and only Tulli's handwritten copy remains. Handwriting experts confirm that Tulli's transcription was consistent with his known documents, and the language structure matched other official records from the same dynasty. Despite this, the document's authenticity was never formally endorsed by mainstream Egyptologists. Tulli's findings were largely ignored by the academic community. Attempts to search the Vatican archives for the original papyrus were denied, and no further scholarly work was permitted. The Tulli Papyrus was kept hidden from the public, and only after Tulli's death did some of his personal papers surface. In these papers, Tulli's notes and translations revealed an even more detailed account of the phenomenon, but by then it was too late to gather any physical evidence. The description of fiery disks in the Tulli Papyrus closely matches modern accounts of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, and the similarities between this ancient account and modern UFO reports are undeniable. Some researchers have speculated that this event could have been a record of early extraterrestrial visitation, but the official narrative remains the same. The phenomenon was nothing more than a misinterpretation or symbolic vision. The questions, however, remain. Why would ancient Egyptian scribes, working under the rule of one of their most powerful pharaohs, record such an extraordinary event in such a straightforward, unembellished manner? And why has this document been hidden from the public for so long? If the Tulli Papyrus is authentic, it would be one of the earliest recorded sightings of UFOs. It challenges the conventional historical narrative, forcing us to consider the possibility that ancient civilizations may have witnessed phenomena far beyond what we have been led to believe. What or who was watching Egypt at the height of its power? And why has this knowledge been suppressed? Top 9. The Mayan codices and DNA symbols. Deep in the jungles of southern Mexico, beneath centuries of vine-choked stone, lie three surviving pre-Columbian manuscripts from the ancient Maya civilization, the Dresden, Madrid, and Paris codices. These folding books, made from bark cloth and inscribed with intricate hieroglyphic texts, have long been recognized for their remarkable astronomical precision. They chart eclipses, planetary alignments, and lunar cycles with a mathematical accuracy that continues to astound modern scientists. But in recent years, high-resolution scans of these codices have revealed something far more controversial: visual patterns that closely resemble the modern structure of DNA. In the Dresden Codex, several pages depict serpentine shapes spiraling around central axes, forming patterns that bear a striking resemblance to the double helix structure of DNA. These motifs are flanked by glyphs that are associated with life, rebirth, and the weaving of existence, which closely mirror concepts found in genetic engineering and biological programming. One particular panel in the Dresden Codex shows two figures holding what appears to be a coiled cord suspended between them, with the loops of the cord perfectly matching the dimensions of a DNA turn when scaled proportionally. Could it be that the Maya, long before modern science, had some kind of knowledge about the building blocks of life itself? Skeptics have dismissed these images as symbolic representations, perhaps snakes, umbilical cords, or cosmological spirals. But when these images are overlaid with molecular diagrams of nucleotides and base pair sequences, the resemblance becomes unsettling. The Maya worldview was deeply interwoven with sacred geometry, vibration, and frequency. Their belief system held that divine beings were the weavers of the human form, stitching together the threads of existence. Is it possible that these metaphorical weavings are in fact a literal representation of genetic structures and biological processes? Compounding this mystery is the discovery of a mural at Bonampak, a major Mayan archaeological site. The mural depicts a humanoid figure lying on a stone slab, surrounded by figures manipulating beams of light or fluid strands emanating from the body. At first, this was interpreted as a depiction of ritual sacrifice. But could it actually represent a form of biological modification, healing, or even experimentation? As more researchers attempt to link Mayan art with molecular biology, their efforts have been met with resistance. Proposals to study the codices in the context of modern genetic science have been rejected as pseudoscientific. Museums housing the codices have limited access to high-resolution imagery, and scholars who have suggested deeper biological meanings have been ostracized or labeled as fringe theorists. Despite the growing body of evidence that points to a biological interpretation, the academic establishment has largely ignored these claims. If the Maya did in fact possess knowledge of DNA, it would raise profound questions about the extent of their understanding of life and the universe. Could the Maya, through altered states of consciousness, meditation, or unknown instruments, have glimpsed the hidden architecture of life itself? If so, the codices may not be mythological stories, but a record of a far deeper truth, encoded in their art, waiting for the eyes of future generations to understand. Top 10. The Nag Hammadi Scrolls. In 1945, near the town of Nag Hammadi in Egypt, a farmer digging for fertilizer unearthed a sealed clay jar containing 13 leather-bound papyrus codices. These texts, which had been lost for nearly 2 millennia, would later be revealed to contain alternative accounts of creation, consciousness, and reality that diverged significantly from the canonical Bible. Among these ancient manuscripts was the Apocryphon of John, a cryptic narrative that would forever change the way we understand human existence. The Nag Hammadi scrolls are filled with descriptions of entities known as archons, who manipulate reality and trap human consciousness. One document, the Apocryphon of John, tells the story of a false god, an imposter creator who constructs the material world not out of benevolence, but to trap human beings in a simulated reality. According to the text, humanity is ensnared in a false, illusory realm created by these lesser beings who feed on human ignorance and fear. The real divine source, referred to as the invisible spirit, exists beyond perception in a realm of pure awareness. The scrolls contain terminology that now resonates with modern scientific concepts, including layers of perception, projections mistaken for truth, and a veil called the hail that blinds human awareness. In one passage, the archons are described as masters of counterfeit reality, able to create entire lifetimes of illusion for their subjects. This idea of false reality and the manipulation of consciousness mirrors the concepts of modern quantum theory, simulation hypothesis, and cognitive neuroscience. Despite the radical implications of these teachings, the Nag Hammadi scrolls were initially ignored by the academic world. When they were rediscovered, they were studied under tight control, and full translations of the texts were delayed. Some scholars who pushed for the public release of these writings faced severe opposition and were quietly silenced. In the 20th century, a proposed UNESCO project to digitally preserve the Nag Hammadi manuscripts was suddenly defunded, further raising suspicions of deliberate suppression. The most disturbing aspects of the Nag Hammadi texts are their descriptions of reality as an illusion and the possibility that humanity's true consciousness has been hijacked by these false gods. Could it be that ancient Gnostics were not mystics lost in abstract thinking, but were early observers of the mechanics of reality? Reality that we now refer to as simulated universes, non-human intelligences, and cognitive entrapment. The Apocryphon of John and other scrolls offer a haunting vision of a fabricated existence, a simulation constructed to keep us blind to the truth. These texts challenge not only religious dogma, but the very foundations of how we perceive the world around us. As modern science begins to explore the nature of consciousness, the Nag Hammadi scrolls seem eerily prescient. If the Gnostics were truly tapping into a hidden understanding of reality, what did they know that we are only beginning to understand? And why have these texts been so carefully suppressed? What is the real truth behind our existence, and who or what is trying to keep it hidden? As we journey through these incredible texts, one thing becomes clear. Humanity's understanding of science, consciousness, and the cosmos may have been far more advanced in the distant past than we ever realized. Whether these ancient manuscripts hold the key to lost knowledge, or if they were part of a greater cosmic understanding, we may never fully know. But the mysteries they hold continue to challenge our perception of history and reality itself. If you're intrigued by these secrets of the past, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more fascinating explorations.